think just across the playing field and be able to put yourself in those situations from absolutely everyone, even people that make you uncomfortable.
Yep.
To try and see things and try to solve what their actual, at least their more immediate need. Because if you have an education need that I can't fix, I'm sorry, there's not a lot I can do. I can make it easier for you to buy something. I probably can do that, but much more from that, hey,
It's on you.
it's on you. Yeah.
Welcome to The Brew. Today we have a special episode with my man, Andre Fabian. He's a senior product designer, senior UX designer, creative director, all the above. And man, he has a special place in my heart. He he taught me UX 3 years ago when we were working together at an ad agency, and it's been no looking back since then. So we're in for a fun time today, fun conversation about the future and this current state of work and just life in general in this post-COVID or current COVID era. So Andre, UX is probably super prevalent, more prevalent than ever today because of COVID and stuff. So love to know, in your take, what is UX, and also why are things changing today in that area?
Well, first of all, thank you so much for having me, guys. I think that I'm particularly very proud to see how far away young Nikhil has come, and we wish him all the best. He's a very smart guy, so yeah. COVID has thrown a spanner in the works of those companies that were very much stagnant for change, right? This has made companies change and really have to evolve in a very short amount of time, because all of a sudden you couldn't perform your normal duties at your office. You had to go back and do it from home. Which meant that whatever it is that you were doing at work to like waste time or whatever, you had to take all of those distractions away and really focus so you can remain effective. And those of us that are lucky enough to still have our jobs and are still able to do our duties are doing so thanks to things like Zoom, Slack, and all those other tools that allowed us to work remotely. But that's one of the key factors that made me switch to user experience, because user experience is just in the way that we interact with products. So there's got to be someone that's designing how you interact with the products all around you. And it's not just digital devices or an actual coffee cup, but it could be an event. It could be in the way that you interact with the service. That's why service design is really important. So it encompasses so many different aspects. And I remember when I was learning UX, our teacher was saying that essentially we were future-proofing our careers. Because the only thing that you're gonna be making in the future more of was the different experiences, because computers are going to find their way to facilitate processes. So if you didn't have a job that was creative and your job basically was very much mechanical, your job could be easily replaced by a computer. So the idea is to make sure that you put efforts into a career that really flexes on your thinking and your creativity and your know-how, because what's happening between your two ears, no one can replicate that, no matter what the normal one computer is. So that's kind of like I hope that I answered your question in a roundabout way.
Yeah, no, it was a good background of what UX is. And I think one thing I've definitely noticed, especially doing UX jobs for a bunch of different clients and stuff, is that especially for industries that so many people rely on, such as healthcare, such as banking, a lot of that stuff is in person. And now these companies are like forced to like have internal dashboards designed and other processes designed and transformed into something else that's going to be future-proofed, as you were saying. So what's your take on that? Are you working on certain projects that kind of are like that, or?
One of the I work for a tech company that deals more with the automotive industry, which is Cox Automotive. You guys would have probably heard of a site called Kelley Blue Book on autotrader.com. We own those two websites, and we basically are a marketplace for vehicles all over the country. Not many people know this, but there are laws that changes from state to state in the way that you can buy a car.
Yep.
So for a longer time, there was a rule that you couldn't buy a car anywhere else other than at a dealership. So you had to go into a dealership because the dealership were the only ones that were licensed to actually sell you a brand new car. A car maker can give a dealership the license to sell a vehicle, and knowing that they can't give the milk guy the license to go and sell Hyundais, but the dealership has this license to provide that experience and that service.
Yeah.
That has changed dramatically because now I don't have to go into a physical dealership in order for me to buy. So we've been working really hard and coming up with a whole experience of how we can do a touchless, seamless way that you can experience vehicles, go on test drives, use VR, AR to facilitate those experiences. How do I exchange my money? How do I know that I can afford it? How do I know that I can get a bank loan and get an approval and not have to? I don't know if you guys ever bought vehicles, but buying a car is just like an incredible pain in the ass. So how can we minimize all of those friction points in order to get folks to transact a lot quicker? Before COVID, that wasn't a priority. In fact, making those investments to do these things digitally cost a lot of money for this dealership. And they're like, we don't need it. We're making a lot of money the way we are. Cool down with your futuristic way of doing things that are more like reliable. And we're like, no, dude, like this is the future. We should really pay attention. And now, within 2 weeks of this whole thing happening, we were all rounded up, all of the product designers, and we're like, if we don't figure out a way to get folks to continue buying cars from home, we're all out of a job. So good luck with that. So we had to go in and do a bunch of design thinking methodologies, and we had to come up with ways that we can, okay, how are we buying and selling cars now, and how do we need this to be? What's the minimum way that we can change things so we can just get this thing going? And then moving forward from that, okay, if COVID wasn't a thing and we had like all the money in the world, how would we want buying and selling vehicles to be, and how does that look like for our company? So we've been putting a lot of efforts into coming up with these new strategies, and it's called digital retail services. And now if you go to shameless plug, AutoTrader and Kelley Blue Book and see digital remote services, you'll see my handiwork basically into place where we come up with all those processes. And that wasn't me even designing a screen. That was just us sitting down, figuring out different processes. So yeah.
That's awesome. So I think first thing that comes to mind when I think of auto retailing and futuristic stuff, like, or the future of auto, is Tesla. And I think in my mind, they've been very, very successful. Obviously, they have that whole brand image. They're like the Apple of cars, basically. But I think a big factor has been that they're direct to consumer in many ways. So what's your take on that? Would you say that has put them in front? Like they're more valuable than Toyota now?
Well, and I know some of my friends are going to get, one of my friends is going to get really upset that I said this, actually, because we're very close and we always like butt heads about this. When you say very successful, what do you mean? Because they're very popular. And they're very altruistic and they're very inspiring. I have to say that. Like Tesla as a brand is something that they're just very futuristic. They're looking forward. You really want to be associated. You just call them the Apple of all the car companies, which is, great. They only just recently turned a profit.
True.
And this is something that people tend to forget. That you're in business to make money, and you could be in it for all the right reasons. And if you don't make money, then that's gonna make it very hard for you to continue doing the right things and the right elements, because you won't be able to have enough money to sustain that. I believe Uber and Lyft are also in the same same boat. So the reasons why normal automotive companies have made the money that they have is because they were able, through large numbers, minimize their costs.
Yep.
So they have processes that they know kind of like what they're doing. They have those costs already down pat. They know where to shave things, and that's how they're making money. Tesla has gone about trying to do things a different way. They're being very open source in terms of, I mean, I think that Elon Musk said at one point, I'm putting all my plans out on open
public.
source.
It's all public. Yeah.
So I want to, if you make a better Model S than what I do,
Do it.
do it.
Yeah.
Go ahead, go away and do it, because he really believes in the electrification, and that they consider themselves an electric power company.
Yep.
Yeah.
And they're a power company that's right now they're making cars. Now they're making solar panels, but they're trying to bring electricity, batteries, everything. So they want to create a clean energy in a more sustainable way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
They understand that the name of the game right now, it could be cars, but it could be something else in the future. So they're keeping themselves quite open. Very, very smart. However, not profitable when it comes to making cars.
Yep.
They have gone around that rule that I told you about, in that if you think that you can buy a car from Tesla from everywhere and you don't have to go to a dealership, you actually go through a dealership in Florida. So all that paperwork,
It's all in Florida.
it's all happening in that dealership in Florida. They just, through different back-end services, make it very seamless to the user. Like the end user just get their contract, but they don't know all this stuff is happening.
Yep.
But places like Carvana are now giving them a run for their money. CarMax as well. CarMax is like, well, we could do that. We could totally like reroute all that paperwork and deliver the car to your house. Boom.
Yeah.
So now they're creating disruption. And now for CarMax, it's a lot easier to get you a Hyundai Ioniq, which is a very cheap electric car compared to a Tesla, delivered to your home.
Yep.
So all of a sudden, your competitive advantage that you have just really goes away. The only difference between your electric car and my electric car is that the Tesla one can do like the happy mode. And I don't know. I don't want to bag on Tesla, because Tesla's actually really cool.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
But in the same token, this is a business,
Yep.
and people kind of like lose track of that.
Oh, yeah, easily do, because it was actually announced like when they beat the profitability, when they actually analyzed the stock. The stock price is anticipated as they're selling the car for 200 times more than they're selling it for right now. That's how much the stock price is in like actual contrast to the company.
Yeah.
So because of that, it's like there's this kind of delusion behind like I love Elon and I will invest into it, but never with like the stock price right now, never with this current things, because I'm still looking at the profitability, the roadmap, what they're trying to do on the business standpoint. And then also by them being direct to consumer, a lot of people forget that's great for brand appeal, but it's the most expensive way you can go about it. Because I had an opportunity to go in a fireside chat with Tim Brown for Allbirds, and they're direct to consumer as well. But that was one of the struggles he had to do, because he wanted to control the brand. But by able to do that, you have to first do direct to consumer, then you have to have your own shops, own infrastructure. It's so expensive.
Not only that, if you know anyone that has a Tesla, ask them how do they go about servicing their Tesla.
Yeah, I heard it's a nightmare.
So, I mean, again, I don't want to really like bag on Tesla too much, because I feel that they're necessary. That you need to have companies that are trying to push the envelope and trying to change things the way they are. But at the same token, that they have some shortcomings that many of the really Tesla fanboys out there, they just like to forget. And you're like, I don't want to be a dick, but there's stuff there. So yeah.
I think, no, you make a very fair point. Like, profitability aside, I think Elon's mission from the beginning, like you were saying, was to be open source and to motivate other people to, electrify and stuff. And we're seeing that, right? Like,
it's happening.
Every major car company now has something.
Nissan just released their SUV or crossover, whatever it is.
Porsche, Audi, all the major brands have at least some innovation in the pipeline for electric vehicles.
So one of the projects that I was heavily involved with all of last year was a startup company news magazine called Ride.tech. And basically it was all around electrification and new technology within the automotive industry. So another shameless plug, go to Ride.tech and subscribe to the mailing list. But that really opened my eyes to a bunch of stuff that I went into it feeling like so, oh man, the environment and yes, and tech and this is gonna be great and we're changing the world together. But then like things like, did you know that the batteries are causing like more damage to the environment than the natural like fuel gases, and that there are other ways of getting fuel that's a lot more cleaner than the car batteries and the one we have. And I was like, wow, this made me really challenge the way I went about like things. I thought that everyone should just get like an electric car because it was going to be better for the environment, and actually turned out well. Depends where you're getting your batteries from. Yeah. So it's like, oh shit, I don't like to buy everything just on face value. You know,
you got to do a little bit of research.
You have to do like
you have to do a little due diligence, because the fanboys with Tesla, Tesla could put anything out, and Elon Musk could say anything, and he does. I mean, we talked about it a little bit before about what his Twitter's like and everything like that. But I mean, batteries are pretty bad, all things considered. Like, I get that he's trying to get a grips on that just because, he has a gigafactory in somewhere in Nevada, right? Or somewhere.
He has one in the US, he has one in China, and I think he's trying to build a third one. Somewhere. Yeah, but his whole concept is I think it was 5 gigafactories, then he can supply the level he wants to be able to, but he needs 5.
And there are other companies that are doing like exciting work. I don't know if you guys know much about Rivian.
Yeah.
Rivian has one of the most interesting work that they've been doing in electric vehicles in a long time. That their truck battery that they're doing, Ford is paying them just so they can have access to it.
Yeah.
So not exclusivity. Ford is saying, when you release it, can we please use it in our new
F-150.
The F-150. Think about that. Yeah. Think about how many F-150s are that, and then
it's the most popular truck in the world.
Exactly. Yep. So when you're looking at the scale and when you're looking at the distribution channel that Ford has, and all of a sudden you're like, okay, now we've got a company that has distribution. Now we've got a company that has servicing. Now we've got a company that has like what you've grown to expect from a car company.
Yeah.
Now you can see how sustainable it would be to have an electric vehicle, because I know that I'm not going to be paying an arm and a leg, and I know that I'm not going to be waiting for a month to have my car serviced in case I need it. Yeah. So Rivian's been doing amazing work. There are other ones like Byton, which is like you go into the model vehicles of Byton, they have screens all over the place. Yeah. They have an LED screen that's on the inside of the side passenger mirrors.
Yeah.
That turns their side passenger mirrors into an actual screen. So you can look outside the window, but you can also look inside, and everything's like, it's crazy. It looked like one of those old episodes from Pimp My Car, and they're like, we put a TV everywhere. But at the same time, those guys are also like, they are like finding it really hard to get funding. They're finding it really hard to sort of make these cars without losing a ton of money. So, yeah.
I mean, it's a tough thing. I mean, I remember when Tesla was like, when was this? It had to be like 2013. Right whenever Fisker went under, I remember looking at that and going like it, because I was always like super into like Fisker. I was into Tesla back then. I was like, oh cool, cars are going electric. It's gonna be really fun. I was wondering if like Tesla was gonna go under too, because there was like a lot of like times where it was just like, oh, Tesla's not looking too hot. It's like the stock price is down. The cars are like they still only had, I think, the S at that point, which wasn't a cheap car by any standards.
No.
And there wasn't any used models on the market. And then Tesla's weird, the way they go about their used lots is ridiculous. The way that it's like, you have to go through all these hoops, or else you can buy a used Tesla that doesn't have autopilot, that can't have supercharging, that can't have all these things. So I was just like, oh crap, like Tesla's for sure gonna go under. But that's when the X came out, and that's when the remodeling came out, and that's like, oh, we're gonna announce like, oh look, this cheap car's coming out in I don't know, 2 years. And everyone was like, oh, 2 years, wow, amazing. And then it turned out to be 4 years, and that 4 years turned out to be like, when it did come out, there were so many issues with the reliability of that car that the Model 3 really didn't come out until like what, 2 years ago maybe, and it's been on the market for like 4 years.
Yeah, and then think about it like this. The biggest thing that moves in automotive markets is not new vehicles, it's used vehicles.
Yep.
So there's a bunch of questions out there when saying, okay, I really want to buy a Tesla. But I don't have 200 grand just sitting in there. I'm happy to buy like an older one. But what am I buying? Like, is the batteries still gonna be good? Am I gonna be able to still like service it? what if I want to just change it and have it all like souped up, bro? Because I like my cars to be like souped up, but I want it to be this. Like, I can't really just sit there and work on my car. So what am I really buying? Am I like leasing it? Like, so there's so many questions.
At this point, it seems like people who are buying the Tesla, it's like Nikhil said, it's like the Apple of Tesla brands. Like, you're buying one for the name brand, but you're buying the software in that car.
Yeah.
Like, you're buying autopilot, you're buying even on the Model 3, what is it, like 12-inch screens?
You're actually not buying the software. Because essentially
it's all leased, right?
everything is depending on them pushing out whatever the new
Updated version.
update. So it's like when you think that you buy your phone, sure, you bought the technical parts in it, but you don't own the apps inside. You sign everything away when you say yes to the terms and conditions. So if you wanted to jailbreak your phone to install more apps and do that, that's great, but we'll void your warranty and and God bless you and hope everything kind of like works out for you. But that's the same mentality that they've gone about with their cars.
Yeah.
And many people don't really understand that little difference because, you ask like your granddad that has like this old Chevy that he's been working on it for 20 years, but that's his car. He can just change whatever he wants on it and do whatever you want to the car, put a new engine, paint it, repaint it, do whatever you want. And you can't do this to these vehicles because that's not how they intended them for you to use them.
I mean, I don't know if you guys have seen the YouTube channel Rich Rebuilds.
Yeah.
But his whole thing is just I think he started off with like one Tesla he bought like super cheap that got flooded, and just chronicling all the issues he went through with Tesla, whether it's getting like one little bolt that they need, whether it's actually getting the car to start. I remember at one point he got a car and it had gotten what's the term when it gets like totaled out?
When you get a total, when you get the car total,
yeah, I think he says some kind of name to it, but it got totaled, and because Tesla identified it as a totaled vehicle, they like stopped pushing any kind of software to it. Yeah. So it was just like this basically massive paperweight.
Exactly.
So he had to go in and like mess with the computers and get everything going so that he could actually turn the car on, pull software updates, and do everything like that. I mean, it's a hassle, and they make it like that on purpose. Like everyone, I remember on Twitter, I was on Twitter a while ago, and everyone was like praising Tesla because they were like, wow, Tesla, I woke up this morning and I have all these new features, whether my car's faster now or whether there's like a new quieter mode, whatever it is. And they're just like, oh, all I did is I messaged Elon on Twitter and I said, hey, wouldn't it be cool if the Tesla software did this? And magically it's there now. It's like, yeah, that's a cool thing to have. But at the end of the day, if something happens and your car gets totaled or anything comes up and it might void your warranty, you're kind of out of luck.
Yeah, and now people need to start getting. Are you gonna be comfortable with that? That's basically the question. And again, I bring it back to your cell phone. Like do you need your to be able to tinker with your phone at all moment in time? Do you need to be able to rejig everything? It's that garden wall conversation that we were having before about Apple. I would pay a little bit extra to not have to worry about upgrading my car. I would pay a lot extra for my vehicle to be the one thing that it just takes me from point A to point B. And I feel that the biggest and I'm showing my age right now that I feel that you guys having a car, it's not such a make or break moment in your life anymore. That moment in your life comes when you got your phone for the first time. That moment of freedom when you felt that you have privacy, that you felt that you had independence because you could go anywhere you wanted on your phone on the internet. That moment that you can just say, I have Uber, I can just order a cab on my phone. I can buy a plane ticket with my phone. I don't need that. I can book a car service to drive me around.
Yeah.
And I feel that the younger people are just more conscious about stuff like drink driving. It's like, no, like why would I drink drive? That doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
No, we'll just catch an Uber and it's gonna be even better because then we can just chill and just drink in the
back.
Yeah, exactly. Like we can so I remember when I was like 16, I'm like, I cannot wait to get a car. I cannot wait to just to be able to go anywhere. And my kid is only 7, so by the time that he's 16, his freedom is gonna be like, I can't wait to get my chip implant, or or whatever the heck that's gonna be.
Yeah.
Hopefully it's not.
Yeah, I really hope
Yeah, I
not.
really hope it's not.
You don't like the idea of
Well,
just
yeah.
smacking your forearm and paying for something?
I really don't like something that can track me in every single point. This already bothers me that people can track almost everything, and I try
So
to cut it out. So
Black Mirror to me is the
the
best features out there that you can
yeah.
like do yourself a favor and watch every single episode of Black Mirror and then never leave home for the rest of your life because this is the future. And as a product designer, when we see stuff like that being represented like that, this is stuff that we go, that is so doable. And the way that my brain works, like, okay, I can call my backend body here and we can totally make a framework that we can build this. We can build this shit for real. There's some of the stuff from Black Mirror.
Can you give me like the lens with my memories where I can go
So-
back and stuff?
yeah,
That's
so
actually
when you go to
a
CES,
thing.
so when you go to CES, and this goes back to what we were talking about with CES,
There's
because
like
it
a
kind of
Black Mirror
shows
booth.
kind of like the 5 to 10 year mark of where technology is going. But when you're at CES, the stuff that I was watching in Black Mirror,
Good.
I was at CES, I was like, holy shit. I see that right there. I see that right there.
Yeah.
They already have the
What's
beta
that,
version
Santino
of that
or
exact
whatever it
You
is?
thing.
can ask Siri to show you the videos that you uploaded before.
Oh, okay.
So the technology is just there.
Yeah,
You're just changing the commands and make sure if you're like on people get really freaked out about this, but Alexa is recording at all times.
Oh, yeah.
That's the only way, and the only way that you have as a user to interact the commands is when you say the wake word. But in order for the device
There's
to
an
work,
Alexa
it needs to record the whole time. That's
Yeah.
the only way.
Yep.
So it's recording the whole time, and the more you use it, the more it recognizes. See, I have a thick accent, so every time I say Alexa, I'm sorry, did you say? And I'm like, Juanita, Maria, coño. So I get really pissed off. But you know what I'm talking about. But and now it got to a point where if I say like, I mumble Alexa, and you know that I'm talking to
Yeah.
to Alexa.
That happens at my home too. So we have an Alexa in the kitchen, and we grind our own coffee beans and we make it in a French press. Like me, my mom, my dad, my brother, and it recognizes me by now because I think I use it the most. So anytime, like no problem. My dad uses it, and he doesn't have a thick accent or anything, but it's just like he says Alexa, nothing, and then he says it like 5 times, and he gets more and more pissed each time. And then I come like Alexa, and it works in like 2 seconds.
So my kid my wife has an Australian accent, and she has a very thick Australian accent.
Yeah.
And she calls things by weird names. So fine, Alexa, don't understand the weird things that my wife calls you, because she calls ketchup tomato sauce. What's the price of tomato sauce? And it's like, tomatoes are a vegetable, a fruit that grows in. And you're like, no, that's not what. You know what? Stupid Alexa. And then you have to ask my kid, who has an American accent, to be like, Alexa, what's the price of ketchup? And I'm like, shut up. The fact that I have to resort to this is embarrassing. So I don't want to use this anymore. But I digress. So Alexa is listening to you all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And because Alexa is listening to you all the time, now we have more access to data more than ever.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
A bunch of unstructured data.
So
Oh, yeah.
you tell Alexa would ask you like, who is this talking? And I'm like, this is Daddy. So I'm Daddy. I'm Big Daddy. I like to be called Big Daddy. At least by a device. No
Yeah.
one else does. Just the device.
You want us to? We can start calling you Big Daddy.
Please don't.
Okay, all right.
Or start text messaging me
Okay, all right.
with emojis.
Okay.
It's gonna be great. But yeah, so the technology is there. You can walk around with Snapchat,
Yeah.
and Snap camera has very fashionable sunglasses that are recording all the time.
Yep.
And it needs to be recording all the time in order for you to say, take a photo of this, or with a gesture or something like that, you just take a snap or start recording like a moment, but it's recording the whole time.
Yep.
Yeah.
And as we progress with teaching AI to the machines to start recognizing objects and things like that, I can very much easily say, I'm about to go into a meeting. Just make sure that you record everything that's happening, and or faces, because I'm really bad with names, so I make sure that with face recognition, if I can just pull from LinkedIn and I can see kind of like your face pull up and have like an AR thing that says like, this is Nikhil and this is what he's done, and last time you guys were together and like a video that plays, and I'm like, hey, do you remember that time that I offered you alcohol and you weren't old enough to have alcohol, and then you had to send you back from outside?
Oh,
of
that's a
alcohol?
fun story. Yeah, that was a good time.
I know. Are you guys like? So I asked because I had a friend. He worked in computers all the time. He was a brilliant coder. But he still had like, you know, you go to Walmart and you buy a UC phone for $20 and you
Like
buy
a burner.
a burner. Exactly.
Like a burner, yeah.
He had a burner. And I asked him like, well, why? And he was just like, look, dude, like everything that I've ever done in my life is on the computer. Like the last thing I want is at least for them to know exactly where I am. He's like, that's it. That's it. I'm cool with just everything. Keep it, take it, all of it. But you know.
But it's really interesting to me because like I think that we were touching about this earlier when we were having a chat, and it was that what people are giving up in what they're so-called freedoms, they're gaining in convenience.
Yep.
Yeah.
And that's the cost. That's just the trade-off. And we were talking, we're touching on this, that this is a business, and people keep forgetting that there's gonna be some type of exchange of goods.
Yeah.
What are you gonna give me that's valuable to me in order for you to get this level of convenience? Or you know, you have an option of destroying all the technology that you have and go and live in a mountain and grow your own food and have like a little commune, and you could do that and potentially be happy with that. Probably not lose hair or anything like that. But if you're gonna be living in within like technology, and you're gonna be taking advantage of that, the convenience and the products that people are making, there's gotta be some type of exchange.
Yeah.
I feel that what's bad is when people are being disingenuous about it.
Yep.
And when they try to steal that information and not letting you know how is it that I'm going to be using it for.
Mm-hmm.
So right now we're in the process of designing the new Auto Trader app. And for the new Auto Trader app, our long-term strategy is that we want to be able to provide end-to-end solutions. So when you even look at a car, to literally buying the car and having it sent over to your house.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a number of different points that you kind of like need to hit.
Yeah.
So I can sit down and put you through an onboarding process that's gonna last 10 minutes, and I know everything that I need to know about you, so you can go about and doing your life. But you might not be ready for that level of commitment with me to sit you down and have like 10 pages of questions. Because dude, you only want to have a look at cars and prices.
Yeah.
That's all you want to do. So what you do is something called like progressive disclosure. And progressive disclosure is like, I won't ask for your location until I need it.
Yeah.
So you're enjoying your application, you're enjoying the stuff that you're doing, and all of a sudden you want to send a notification saying that you're interested in it. I say, well, I need you to let me know where you at.
Yep.
So we can do this two ways. You can either give it to me, you can type it in, or I can find out with your location right now. What do you want to do? Provide user context and say, why do you want to do that? Well, it's for if I want to show you vehicles that are around your area and not show you that vehicle that's around Alaska, I need to know where you are.
Yeah.
So that makes sense. And you're like, okay, here's my zip code. And I'm like, okay, I'm gonna send you now a check worth of $2,000. So I can send it to your next door neighbor, I can send it to your house. No, you need to send it to my house. So, okay, I need your address. Then you got the address.
Yep.
Or, hey, we have a phone conference for a job interview, and we want to be able to talk to you. Can I have your phone number? Makes sense.
Yeah.
But I can't just sit there and ask for your phone number, your address, your favorite color, what's your favorite pet last name,
Mother's maiden name.
Like I can't ask for any of that stuff without giving users like the proper context.
So instead of like one painful form in the very beginning, which everybody dreads, asking them at the points that you actually need them to make that experience much more fluid, and it's like it makes sense at the time
and transparent.
Yeah, so they'll leave that app or experience like, okay, like that was good, that was nice.
Yeah.
So the model that Apple and Microsoft as well, I mean, you say that you wanted to have access to the brand new iOS.
Yep.
Great. Here's 30 pages of terms and conditions. Are you gonna be reading it?
Nope.
They're like, just accept. For all you know, when your firstborn son turns 18, there might
They
be
own
a
him.
group of people that from Apple that are coming in and gonna take your kid and be like, well, you said yes. Back in 2020,
We have the signature right here.
We had the signature. Like I thought that we were under complete agreement. You said yes.
You read the EULA,
You
right?
read it. You read it. You said I read it, and you ticked through it. So now we're taking little Nikhil home. No, don't take him. So so you shouldn't be doing that, and that's one of the things that us as UX designers need to combat. It's called dark patterns.
Yep.
And it's not a good way about doing business. It's not you don't do sustainable business if you continue to behave like that. Yeah, it just doesn't leave you a good feeling.
Yeah, because like recently Hassan Minaj, he had a really good one on like all these tax services, because literally they just do dark patterns and that's how they make all their money, because technically it's all supposed to be for free. And even the government tried to create what they had, but they lobbied against, they blocked it out. And then they have dark patterns. You can find the free way to do your taxes, but you have to, it's not any of their, it's not taxact.org, it's none of their actual searches. You have to know the exact domain, which they blocked out on SEO because they just literally just blacklisted it. Nobody can find it. So now everybody's paying like $150 for their taxes, which should have been free in the first place.
Yeah. And unfortunately, not in my current company, but in previous companies I've had, you sit there and have conversation with stakeholders and say, and those are like real things that come up. They're like, we know there's an easy way to get a user from point A to point B, but we make money with banners. Mm-hmm. So we'll put you through 7 screens of banners. And once you hit that 7th screen, that's when you sort of get the goods, whatever it is that you're doing. So, yeah. But that has nothing to do with COVID, right?
Yes, no. So I did have a question though. So speaking of convenience, take stores like Amazon Go, right? And it's kind of pretty much connected to what we were talking about. And like, I think once things start to open up again, and like the people who are conscious and stuff will kind of become germaphobes. Like people are going to do that naturally. And there's a bunch of different factors that are going to change and stuff. But I think one thing in my mind is like the Amazon Go store, where you just walk in, it's connected to your Amazon app, it knows who you are, and all you got to do is walk in, grab what you need, and walk out. No human interaction whatsoever, no dirty whatever conveyor belt things and stuff to touch, right? I want to know all of you guys' opinion. Do you guys think like these are going to become more popular, or is it going to be different? Do you think like traditional grocery stores are going to stay how they are?
It's kind of funny because yesterday I was literally teaching Heidi and Kat exactly about this. I was talking about you have to look at the life cycle of industries, and I honestly do think grocery stores are hitting to the kind of the decline phase, just because the way that they go about their actions is such an old school model in the first place. Like they purchase, they have a supplier, they make their margin, and it's all volume game. Amazon, I think it can work, but it needs a certain level of trust, and they have to be okay with a certain amount of theft, because it's not gonna be able to prevent everybody to like authentically go in and buy. But that already happens in regular grocery stores in the first place. I do think it will become big, but I don't know when. I think that's the kind of the question is the timing of it, because already in Sweden and Scandinavian countries, that's already been implemented. Like they already have those stores in Sweden. They have
like
a lot
other
of
companies.
Yeah, like they have a bunch of convenience stores and stuff like that running this exact same model. It works really well. And I think it works really well on a small scale. But to get it across the entire United States, the way our supply chain is set up, I think that's where the struggle comes from. Because technology side, I think it's going to get adopted. As for everything behind the scenes to make that happen, I think that's where the problem's going to happen.
Yeah, it's a pain for me because speaking ethically, I'm a big fan of I don't like to use self-checkout. I like to go to like a person because for me at least, the more data a company sees that they don't need that person working the actual line, the more easier the decision is to get rid of human workforce and adopt more machine workforce. So that's one of the reasons why I don't use self-checkout. Like that's just on an ethical principle. But at the same time, if I go grocery shopping and not worry about like either me wiping down the conveyor belt before I use it, or the employee wiping down the conveyor belt, or all these little things that come in germs that you would take for granted before COVID, I'd probably do it. I mean, if I was near an Amazon Go, I'd go for it. I'd give it a whirl. But do I think it's going to be adopted? Yeah. Yeah, but I mean, am I entirely for it? Nah.
Yeah, I think that's the tricky part. I need like universal basic income and those things to happen first before I'm like all on board and jump ship on that. So
Yeah.
So it's really interesting because there's a lot of research that has come out from some of the consumer behavior changes that's happening. Something that's been very surprisingly is that the older generation has now been opened up to the gig economy.
yep.
You've got moms and granddads getting Uber Eats and getting Instacarts.
Like being
And-
the ones who pick up the food and deliver it.
Yeah,
or-
so
Both
because
sides of
they're
it.
Both sides.
like getting like the food delivered to them, like Postmates, using Postmates and relying heavily on those services. They would have never been exposed to something like that because socially, you know, the older generation people like to go to the shops. They like to go and have a chat with someone behind the counter. That's kind of like their social interaction. And I'm really sorry if I'm making like gross generalization. People will be like, "Fuck you! I'm not doing that."
But you are
But
generally.
I am. But I'm saying that there's a large group of people that are they're being introduced for the first time to
Yeah.
this gig economy,
Yeah.
and it's now working like really well for them.
Yep.
I don't believe that we're gonna turn into a society full of germaphobes,
Yeah.
and not for a good reason. I feel that people are very pig-headed in terms of how they go about doing things. And even if it's to their detriment, they'll be like, "No, man, no one can tell me what to do." Yeah, germs. You know what I mean?
That's why I said the people who are conscious.
So, but and in the same token, when we're designing products, we need to be able to take away our bias and be able to design
Accessible for everyone.
accessible for everyone.
Yep.
And it's really when you're going through some of these design thinking methodologies, empathy is a big thing. You need to be able to put yourself in someone's situation. You need to be able to be ethically minded when you're coming up with like a system that may hurt or displace a bunch of people out of their jobs. And have you thought about that? And have you thought about that impact? And what would you recommend to be like the workaround? So I am not a Trump supporter. Spoiler alert. So
I mean, yeah, we're talking about moving to Europe.
exactly. So I'm having to create products for Trump supporters as well as people that are non-Trump supporters because I am making products for everyone. So when you see shops that are just going contactless and people that are legit like refusing to operate within the standards that you would have designed, it's incredibly frustrating, but you need to be able to accommodate for that.
Yep.
Because ultimately you need to provide a solution for them. Hey, if you don't want to be here, we set up a line outside for people that do want to get a germ, and everybody gets a germ, and then you still get to buy. Like, we'll need to find a solution for you.
Yeah.
So I would always advise to think just across the playing field and be able to put yourself in those situations from absolutely everyone, even people that make you uncomfortable.
Yep.
To try and see things and try to solve what they're actually, at least their more immediate need. Because if you have an education need that I can't fix, I'm sorry, there's not a lot I can do. I can make it easier for you to buy something. I probably can do that, but much more from that, hey,
It's on you.
it's on you.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
Yeah, that's. I think I agree with all of your guys' points. It's like I don't really know what exactly is going to happen. I don't think anybody does. I think just being a fan of tech, like ever since I was forever, right? Like I think seeing something like that is like, oh, so cool, right? But then, yeah, of course, like some people's behaviors are going to change, some people's behaviors are not. There's going to be people who resist. There are people who resist to these new changes today. There's people who are changing their habits every day. So it's just like, there's probably going to be a mix of both, right? Like your friendly neighborhood Ralph's is probably still going to be there for a few more years, right? But
I see more. The thing that I can see happening, like very short term, not so much long term, is more places taking like the Whole Foods 365 or the Trader Joe's approach, or Aldi, where it's just the same convenience store but less SKUs, much smaller footprint, and so giving someone the option of eating 20 different cereals and instead give them 5 different cereals that are the best sellers and just do that. And,
Yeah.
and instead of having a Walmart or a Target that's 100,000 square feet, have
Yeah.
a Trader Joe's that's in 10,000 square feet.
So community-based businesses more. Like,
Yeah, absolutely.
tied to the community and kind of, yeah, kind of closer. Because I think the same thing for gyms. To be honest, I don't think the format of like 24-hour fitness in these massive
Yeah.
gyms
Oh, yeah.
is gonna work after COVID. To be
Yep.
honest, because
No way.
one, people want a smaller gym size. They want like nutrition plan, health, community.
yeah.
They
Holistic.
want those exactly kind of the big picture of fitness. They
Yeah.
don't want just I'm going to a gym because 24-hour fitness. They have a bunch of data. Those that just go to a gym, it actually fails. Like they don't
Yeah.
get healthier. They're just going there to go to the gym.
And if you think about it, and so I lived in Australia for a number of years, and coming from the Dominican Republic, where life is almost like happening at a parallel universe than the world, because of just how crazy that place is. It's giving me like a lot of perspective on how the world can be in such different places. One of the value that America has is big and value and family size, and
Yeah.
you can get the big
Costco.
bag of Doritos, Costco, yeah. Do you want toilet paper? Here's 2 trucks of toilet paper. Yes, you can buy it. Guns, more guns than you can ever think of. Like massive, right? And when you come from a place where your supply is limited and you see all that stuff, you're like, oh my god, what?
You buy that toilet paper.
Yeah, we need that. We just need just do it.
4 trucks. 4 trucks.
4 trucks. and but what you're lacking of is quality, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
You're missing the bespoke, tailor-made fit. This is just made for you. So you go from health and fitness, having a personal trainer, someone that understands that your physique is different than my physique. Therefore, my exercises need to be different. My meal plans need to be different. And my goals might be different. Food stores, to be able to provide a different range of smaller shops that have different. Like, I don't need to get my sushi from the same place that I get my nails. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't need that in my life. I can simply just go to like a butcher shop and have that cool experience, and or I can I can walk out of there and go into a coffee shop and enjoy that, or have like a really nice authentic Japanese meal, and then go and get some gelato afterwards. I like food, so I'm thinking about that stuff.
I guess to kind of tie off of that, because one like Mark Cuban's talked about, a lot of entrepreneurs have talked about this, is during COVID-19, like all these big companies, they're actually going to be like net zero unemployment, because they're losing some and they're gaining some unemployment on the cycle. But the real economic kind of push is going to come from small businesses and startups, because they're innovating, finding these problems and kind of solving it.
Yeah.
So do you think, based off COVID-19, there's going to be a huge like emergence of small business and kind of more community ties? Because as you can see, people are investing into small businesses. They don't care about corporate right now. Everybody's small business, like, oh, I know your business, I know you're struggling.
Yeah.
Let me prepay for the next year and stuff like that, to at least make sure that they stay alive. So do you think that there's going to be it's not going to be, because America runs on corporations, but do you think there's going to be a dynamic shift, that there's going to be more emphasis on small business?
Where the economies of scale won't come into play.
Yeah.
You remember? So it's the same Walmart mentality. You won't get that discount because there's so many services being crammed in. You'll get the benefit because you're gonna be getting small businesses that are focusing on one thing, and there's gonna be other smaller businesses that are going to be supporting that small businesses in delivering that.
Yeah.
And that's what COVID has really shown, that we don't need to hire a big office building. So that's a huge overhead that I don't need.
Yep.
I don't need to hire a fancy production company just so they can just rock up and say that you're like fancy. Like, I don't need to buy that, because what I'm buying into is the talent of the people, the guy holding the camera. I'm buying into that engineer or that coder that's actually gonna be building my product. And if I can hire them on an individual level and do away with all that overhead, I'm gonna end up with a product that's gonna be just as competitive. Worst case scenario, just as competitive as something that's just done at a massive scale. So I think it's a great opportunity now for small businesses to really figure out how they can deliver value at a smaller scale, but always be personalized.
Yeah.
So no matter what you do, make sure that you are building something that you're carving your own niche and saying, no one knows more about this in this area, you know? And I can safely say that I'm the coolest Dominican guy you all three have met. Hopefully that you haven't met another Dominican.
I have, but I'll still push you at number one.
Oh, fuck yes. I made it.
It was close, but you're number one.
It was
Thank God. Okay,
it's a little
that
battle.
was, I went out on a limb. But that's just prove my point. So you find your niche, you carve yourself a good niche,
Yeah.
you brand yourself accordingly, and then you'd have to obviously deliver your promise. So
Yeah, I mean, just going off like the small business thing, I think all three of us have really seen it. I mean, all three of us before COVID we were very like on the pulse of like small business because we're doing it right now, you know.
Yeah.
So like we have to understand, like, empathize and sympathize with small business and see what kind of troubles they're going through and see what the growth projections looking like. I mean, we wouldn't be doing this if we didn't see growth projections.
Yep.
And I think that's the thing with small businesses. But right now, what's happening is we're stepping away from just having like the horse blinders on and seeing just these like big name people that are in the game and kind of opening up that perspective and saying like, oh no, right now, think about right now, no one's working in an office, so you can't say I want that production company. Instead, people are going, I want that designer, I want that coder, I want this person. And it's allowing those people to really, I think what's happening here is people are starting to understand the amount of wealth that they bring individually.
Right.
And I think that's what's going to lead into all these like small businesses and all these kind of new enterprises that are going to be starting up, is just the fact that people are sitting at home doing this stuff, working, whoever it is. Like, I'm sure that someone working for Weta right now, for Disney, is going like, I'm doing this from my living room right now.
yeah.
You know, I save a little bit of money and I can do this myself and start making some money on the side without having to get
So
Disney take
I'll
it.
give you an example. And in Australia is a very much smaller market than the US. There's only 20 million population in Australia, but they have a huge film industry.
Yep.
And with film comes, special effects and director, photographers, right? And creative directors, art directors, graphic designers. So for years and years and years, all these like really heavyweight creative people were working for big companies. The big companies just pay them ridiculous amount of money so they can just show up and basically just sit there and if you were the executive creative director on Toyota, you were just working on Toyota the whole time. They found themselves very, very bored because they were only just working on the one brand, but at the same token, it was just easy-ish money because they knew that they were really good at what they're doing.
Yep.
They were very familiar with the brands that they were doing. So, but then what happened? Smaller agencies started coming into the market and saying to them, "Hey, we noticed that you guys did this for your big TV ad. We want to do this quirky little short clip, and don't worry, we'll do it for your YouTube account, and not many people are gonna see it." And little by little, these smaller independent companies edge away at some of the work that the big production company was doing. So much so that people are like, oh, we can't spend that $20 million on that TV ad because we need to spend 10 on these 5 content producers that are bringing so many views of our brand on YouTube and on Instagram. So all of a sudden, you're buying into those individual talents directly. So what the creative directors started doing was like they said to the big companies like, screw you, we don't want to do business with you guys anymore.
Yeah.
We're gonna be independent creative directors, and if Toyota and if Nike, Coke, they want to do an ad, we'll just go in, we'll come up with the ad, you pay us by project, we'll move on. And then go on to the next one, go to the next one, go to the next one. So
I mean, I think the biggest thing when it comes to like ads and kind of understanding like the direction that things are kind of going for, it's like I'm really wondering if because more things are going to start going more independent, like independent contractor and all this stuff, if there's going to be that final push that like those big companies, so you think like the blue chip like stock companies, like if they're going to start actually caring about micro influence and not just maybe not like micro but like sub 100,000 followers, actual people like investing money into these like smaller projects as opposed to having to go through the agencies. Because I mean, you think about these like big companies, for the most part they're so traditional in what they're doing that they don't see that everything really is going direct to consumer.
Yep.
And that includes entertainment.
Right.
That includes whether it's just ads, entertainment, products, obviously, but everything's going direct to consumer. Everything's going YouTube, everything's going TikTok, everything's going where I pull out my phone, I follow who I need to follow,
Right.
within my sphere of influence.
Also creates a problem of the echo chamber of
Yeah.
only having people that
Yeah.
you're like-minded, which
Exactly.
has a very big
Yeah.
problem.
That's such a good thing that you bring up, because it's so prevalent in kind of like our society. But even at a smaller scale of the macro influence, that's also really necessary.
Yep.
Especially, for example, if we do a business for a laundromat in Laguna Beach, there's no point me doing a TV ad that's gonna get people that are gonna be outside Laguna Beach if I have a laundromat that is in Laguna Beach. So there's a lot of wasted. We call it spray and pray.
Yeah.
So we don't want
Very
to.
familiar with that with Call of Duty.
Yeah, exactly. So you don't want to spray and pray. You want to be able to the efforts that you make to be as targeted as you can.
Yep.
So if you find the one guy that makes weird AMSR videos on YouTube,
You can do it right now.
I can do it right here and be like, this is my cover that you can buy on go visit Ride.tech. If you do that and it works for you and you get like tons of like, have you seen that weird guy? He just grabbed that thing and it's working for you. That is a lot. It's you understanding your audiences, delivering content,
Yep.
being
Yeah.
entertaining, and being informative, and talking to your audiences in the way that they want to be talked to.
Mhm.
So that to me shows that you are creating a product that you are caring about the people that are actually going to be consuming it.
Yeah.
So I'm really a strong believer that if big companies don't start thinking more like that, they're gonna be not gonna be around for a long time. And big companies are being able to do this. Like I know that Nike, for a long time, they have like an incubator themselves. That they're always coming up with new products. They're always coming up with interesting way of marketing their products as well. They see trends coming a mile away, so they know that things like TikTok are, platforms that people are consuming day in, day out.
Mhm.
You can tell like how much screen time you spend on each of these different apps. So to not recognize that as a viable channel is lack of foresight.
Yep.
Yeah.
Or just blindness in general. It's just being stubborn and thinking the market. But I wanna ask you a question.
Go for it.
What do you think about Quibi?
Oh, we're gonna get into Quibi.
Like,
I would
what
like-
is Quibi again?
Oh, what isn't
Oh.
Quibi? So before we get into
Here we go.
Quibi, I want to say this. I want it on camera. I want to get the I told you so's. I told them. I don't think we recorded a podcast about this, but it was a
We did not,
conversation
yeah.
between the two of us in the office where Quibi came up, and I said I give Quibi 3 months before it flops.
I said 6.
Yeah,
I
you
said
said 6, and I was like 3 months before it just goes down the drain, and this was about a month ago.
Wait, I need a quick reminder of what Quibi is.
So-
Oh, you were serious?
I am serious. I have no idea what
So
Quibi is.
that actually you are a
I've seen
reason
ads
why.
about it.
Yeah. But what do you think it is? So how about this? You don't know what Quibi is, but you've seen the ads. What do you think Quibi is?
Okay.
If you had to guess on the ads.
Is Quibi like a new type of Netflix?
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, it's
Yeah?
pretty good. Yeah. A lot of people. So they did some research on it, and with the ads that they ran in the Super Bowl, wasted just so much money, just too much money in the Super Bowl for ads. The ads are so like broad and like they're trying to be like this like grandiose thing. Like they basically are the new player in the game, and they took the approach of we're gonna pretend that we've been here forever. You know,
having made ads for the Super Bowl.
Uh-huh.
I can tell you there's a strategy behind that,
okay.
and it's and I think GoDaddy was the one that
GoDaddy did it very well.
GoDaddy did
Yeah.
it. So GoDaddy was like, no one knows who the F we are.
Yeah.
They don't know who we are. So if we go in there saying, hi, we're GoDaddy, and we are gonna show you da 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 da.
Danica
You got
Patrick
like
out there.
with Danica
Patrick.
McKellar?
No, Patrick.
Oh yeah. Her. So okay.
Yeah, it's GoDaddy did that to you.
GoDaddy did that
Yeah.
to me. They did that to me. Yeah. They messed up with my brain. My 12-year-old brain. Anyway, I digress. So they went ahead and they're like, we need to make sure that we become memorable. We need to make sure that we become entertaining. People are watching a football game. They're not silly saying, oh, I wonder what tech company is.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm so looking for a hosting company. Like, if only I see like a message, like a 30-second message with like a celebrity endorsement for me to give all my money to. Like, no one is sitting at home doing that. So what you want to provide is something that's memorable enough that can cut through the noise. And so the next day, you're like, oh, remember that, how funny that ad from blah, 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 blah was, and the joke, oh, man, it was amazing. That's the best thing that you can hope for out of a 30-second Super Bowl, $50 million investment.
Okay, so I should say that Quibi didn't make it memorable. Quibi
Yeah,
just
I
made
can't even remember.
Exactly. So a lot of people thought that Quibi was like, I think like a food delivery service for a while. Like they did like a thing. They were like they polled people and they were like, what do you think Quibi is? And they were like, I don't know, deliver food or something like that.
Quiznos,
Yeah.
the sandwiches.
So basically what it is, it stands for Quick Bites, Quibi, right? And what it is, it's like 7 to 12 minute. So basically, imagine a TV show. Imagine like an episode of Black Mirror, an hour long. But instead of sitting there and watching it in front of a TV for an hour long, imagine the joy of watching it in 7 to 12 minute spurts once a week.
On your phone.
On your phone.
Once a week.
Once a week.
On your phone.
On your phone.
Wait, the spurts are once a week?
The spurts are once a week. So that was their first mistake. The fact that they didn't launch everything out at once. So if I wanted to binge, there's no binge. Now I think there's binge
Now
because
there
stuff's
is,
been
now there
out
is,
for a while.
But they're already screwed at this point. So it doesn't
Exactly.
matter.
So they did a few things wrong. So that, and the big thing that they did, they wasted a bunch of money. I think it was like $1.2 billion
stupid.
before they even launched the product. It was $1.2 billion that they put into the product because every single one of their shows had a celebrity endorsement behind it. There was a celebrity starring in the show. We're talking like big names, like we're talking
Chris
like Kevin
Hemsworth.
Hart, Chrissy
Yeah.
Teigen, who else was in it? Will Forte.
Is it
was-
Liam Hemsworth? Chris Hemsworth?
Yeah. One of the
He was one
Hemsworths
of
was in
them,
it.
Yeah.
So they put a bunch of money behind celebrities, and what ended up happening is they saw that people weren't that interested in it. I'm sure they saw the poll that they were like, "Oh crap, they think we're a delivery service." So they offered 3 months for free, and within the first week, if you signed up, you get 3 months for free, right?
COVID also hit. So
Yeah, COVID also hit. So you get 3 months for free, and then what ended up happening is people were really like hoping that their numbers were big at first because you get 3 months for free, but now I think it's down to like 72,000 active users, and that might just be people who forgot to cancel when the 3 months hit. So at this point, it would take them, I think someone was saying like, if those 70,000 people actually did stay on at I think $5 a pop, it would take Quibi 460 plus years to regain their initial $1 billion investment. And this
Oh
is
my
like,
God.
and like the CEO is like so out of it. Like he's just like, it's COVID-19's fault, and ignore the fact that right now people are ingesting more entertainment than they ever have in the world.
Are you
Should
talking
be
about
helping him.
Katzenberg?
So
Yeah.
He's not the
Katzenberg.
CEO.
So
He's,
What is
basically,
he, the chairman?
someone at a pitch went, so you know Netflix? You know what the problem with Netflix?
Dude,
Too long.
yeah.
Yeah, that's literally
You know what it
Too
was
long.
called? Before it was
Don't have
Quibi,
time. Don't have 2 hours to watch a show. Got 10 minutes
Max.
max, once a week.
The part
Right?
the part that gets me, dude, is how just like crazy indoctrinated these people were. So like before it was called Quibi, it internally the name of it was called New TV. Like that was like the internal code for Quibi. It was
Really?
just new, yeah, it was
I
new,
did
just
not
new
know
TV.
that.
Yeah, they had that much. Like they were like, this is gonna be it, dude. This is it. This is gonna be the last thing that
It's gonna be
anyone
the new TV,
Yeah,
man.
it's
We're
new TV.
making new TV.
over. I mean, at this point, Quibi
All
is
So-
dying.
Another thing, someone said, porn, right? Nobody likes an hour-long porn. They want 10 minutes of porn, right? Am I right? And a bunch of people were like, high five to me. Yes.
And they thought TV that was gonna
And
be
TV,
it.
that's the problem with TV right now. And
People are tired of sitting there and binging. Imagine watching Tiger King. Instead of watching Tiger King, what is it? How many episodes of Tiger King? Like 6? 6 episodes of Tiger King. Imagine watching 6 hours
like
of
it's been a
television.
year.
yeah, dude.
Like Carl Baskin.
We
Are you
wouldn't
gonna
have
kill
learned.
him
We
this
wouldn't
week or
have
next
learned.
week?
Yeah,
Like,
we
what?
wouldn't have learned about Carol Baskin until like now. Like if Quibi had come out when it came, or when did it come out? A month, 2 months ago, or something. Like no, not even that. Quibi
No.
came out like 3 months ago.
Yeah.
It's not good.
Oh yeah, 3 months because the 3 month
Yeah,
period
but
It's
ended.
not good.
Yeah.
No.
So I'm giving Quibi. What's 3 months from now? What month are we in? 7, so 10 October.
So how far are they from being able to pivot? Because this is another thing. When
Oh,
we
so they're already pivoting.
build digital products, we need to be able to be nimble enough that we
Yep.
can.
So
pivot.
to provide background though, their whole like business,
Nikhil's
which
one of the 70,000 people. By
no, I watched like
Shares do you
I watched
have?
Quibi shares do you own?
no, I only watched like
How much
two.
is Quibi paying you right now?
Pay me, Quibi.
Yeah.
Wait, if Quibi wants to get us on a
Hey,
show.
for a
Quibi's
for a
desperate.
little while, my buddies were. I became like a convert on Sketch. There's this, as a UX designer, there's this like Sketch versus Adobe XD
Yeah.
battle that's being waged on the internet.
What do you
And
use?
I use Sketch. but
Yeah, there we go.
it's-
There we
yeah.
go.
But there's a bunch of people that they are just gun ho with Adobe, and they're
Yeah.
like, "I learned Photoshop back when I was in high school, so Adobe." You know, but look, they do animations. They don't all sound like that, but they get like really emotional about it, and I was really gunning for Adobe to like do its own thing, but at first they were like really dropping the ball, and they weren't there. So I learned Sketch. And because I learned Sketch and I'm getting older, I'm like, fuck it, I might have to learn another program.
Yeah, they're pretty different. Yeah.
Fine, I already learned how to code, and I just learned how to do one thing, and now you want me to learn how to do another thing. So, no one has completely figured it out yet, because all you're doing is like static imagery. You're not actually sitting there and creating like the code. But yeah, so I'm sure that at some point someone would have had like those same conversations about this is what we're doing.
So the crazy part about Quibi for me is like when I first heard about it. I learned about it through someone on Twitter had mentioned. I was like, oh, what's Quibi? And I looked it up, and the initial idea they had was pretty cool. Like you could watch a show like this vertically, and if you turn it horizontally, it's all responsive. So like let's say for example you watch a show like this horizontally, right? You're watching it. The show is happening, and let's say one of the characters in the show is on their phone. In the preview that they showed, it was a girl in like a horror show or something like that. She was on her phone. If you were to turn your phone vertically, it would show you the phone's perspective. So it would show you the text messages coming in through her phone, which is pretty innovative. That's pretty cool. That's pretty rad. But one thing they didn't account for was people like to just veg out on a couch. So they didn't have any kind of mirroring options when it first came out. So that you can AirPlay, you can Chromecast it, you can put it anywhere.
Yeah.
Now they do, and it's funny because like when people are just like, why can't we do this? I'm not gonna keep this program because I want to watch on my TV.
Yeah.
They were like, when they released it, they were like, oh, that was planned so long ago, man. It was just coding. It just took a little bit of time, but they're pivoting right now. Like they have to. Because at this point, either that or they're going down.
But we're forgetting a key component here, which I think is important to keep in perspective. But it is the thing that kind of screwed them over in the first place because of COVID. And I think their whole idea behind this, like a big part of their target market is commuters, people going from home to work on the subway, walking to work, that kind of thing. And so the idea of being able to watch 5-minute, 10-minute episodes on your phone while you're on the subway, in hindsight, is actually a pretty good idea.
Nikhil, when was the last time you went on the subway?
Well, I'm talking about people in New York, right? But I don't live in
So
New
we're
York.
just designing for people in New York?
The market size is too small. So what they did is
That's what I'm saying.
they generalized. So they did the one thing they teach you when you're building a startup is you have to understand what your TAM SAM is. Like they drill that shit in you.
Yeah.
And if you don't know what your TAM is, what you're actually going for, and you're basing it off a SOM, which that is a SOM assumption, that is not a TAM assumption.
Yeah.
You don't know what your attainable market is, and because of that, you're making a solution that's only like a $13 million solution, and you're investing $1.2 billion into that. There's no, unless you can pivot.
Yeah.
Unless
Full
you can
disclosure, I'm
switch.
not protecting them, by the way.
No. Sorry.
Let's go with what it is. Nikhil is protecting them.
Stop protecting freaking Quibi. Like, I didn't mean to come out.
No.
come out
I'm
to
just
you like that. But something that has happened to me all the time is like being biased. Like we live in Southern California, right? We live in Southern California, so weather is not something that we think about on an everyday basis. If you live in the middle of freaking Canada and you have to dig out your car from snow, trust me, you care about the weather. And that's the one thing that you that you live and die like knowing what the weather's gonna be the next day. So and same with the commute, and I had so many assumptions coming into that electric vehicle like project. Ridotech, go to visit Ridotech. That I was like really questioning a whole bunch of my beliefs because I'm like, sure, everybody needs to be able to jump on the HOV lane. They're not HOV lanes everywhere. Or sure, everyone should be able to have like an electric car charger. Not people have garages to plug in their car, so it may not be just for everyone. And coming from Australia, where no one has a car, everyone lives in apartment buildings. Jumping on your phone and like watching shows on your phone and it's just normal. So I came to California. I'm like, what is all these people doing driving? Like we're driving everywhere. No one's walking. No one is enjoying public transportation, and they're like, have you been to public transportation here?
Yeah, it's pretty bad, man.
And I go in there, there's like some crazy guy, crackhead, or there's like a fight, and you're like, oh, I see why.
My car's over there now.
Oh, I should drive.
You're
more.
looking up cars on your phone
You're
while
looking
you're
at
on the
cars.
LA Metro.
Exactly. So it's just very hard not to fall in the trap of throwing like this like blanket statement, but user testing. I cannot say like if there's any people out there watching this and you get one takeaway from all our rants is that you need to be able to test whatever it is that you're building, whether it's gonna be like an idea, a logo, an event, anything. Test it with the real people that are actually gonna be enjoying that. Trust me, it's gonna be a lot easier for you to hear it. Hey, it doesn't work from a test bed. Then don't be a Quibi. Hashtag don't be a Quibi.
Don't be a Quibi.
Don't be a Quibi.
There you go.
Hashtag
Get
don't
the
be a
hats.
Quibi.
Get the hats going quick.
Yeah. So test it out. Like how do people binge watch? They lie on their couch. Make sure it's comfortable for someone to kind of like just, is it gonna be this close? Gonna be that close? Can you mirror it? Is everything has subtitles because nobody wants to like listen to stuff like out loud? Think about your user and be a user-centric product.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. One more thing about Quibi before.
You're like, I gotta close that with one more Quibi.
I gotta close it off. I gotta close it off with probably the most egregious thing that they did. There was a podcast that came about of I think these two guys that
It's like a Quibi. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Yeah,
I'm sorry,
no,
but a
no,
Quibi
no,
focused
no,
podcast.
right? It probably is like the most obnoxious thing that they could have ever done. But this was like in the middle of like people being like, well, Quibi's probably gonna die, and then even Quibi was like, yeah, we're probably gonna die. But like these two guys were making a Quibi centric podcast. They were like, this show's kind of okay. This show, like a podcast about a product. And Quibi sent them a cease and desist letter.
Yeah.
They said, don't you dare talk about our shows. You're spoiling it for people who haven't watched it yet. If they know what's happening in the show, they're not gonna watch. That was Quibi's defense. It was like if they listen to your podcast, they don't have to watch a show. So instead of bolstering an evangelist, you're now they literally said,
the one guy that's watching.
yeah. And they literally put out a statement.
trying to promote you.
He's trying to promote you.
So on
Quibi's
Twitter-
biggest fan.
Yeah,
Put me on an episode.
They put out a statement on Twitter that was just like that it showed the cease and desist, right? And then it said at the bottom, the caption was like, we believed in Quibi, we tried to watch it. And they're like, but now we're gonna be like Quibi's #1 haters. They were like, we're gonna do everything in our power to make sure that Quibi does not succeed.
Oh my God, Quibi, what are you doing?
Oh, Katzenberg. That was him too.
I think the owner of Quibi must feel like my mom feels every time she hears some news about me. And it's like just this wave of disappointment of like, why? Why did you do that? Why? Yeah. So bad. Quibi.
Yeah, CEOs.
Meg Whitman is the CEO? I thought it was Katzenberg. So what's Katzenberg? Is he like a chairman?
Chief something.
Oh, you're right. He's like the is he no, it's not the CTO. It's like the COO, isn't he?
COC.
He's
Who
like
knows, right? Like it's not even.
It's
That's
chief
so
product.
bad.
Nobody even
You
knows.
know who
CTO,
runs the
he's a
company,
chief
who's
product
not.
officer.
That's
Or
right.
production officer.
I think it was
or something.
Alert at first because I thought their app looked cool. Like I like their dark scheme with the purple
Yeah,
and
yeah.
like black. I'm like,
It's
pretty dope.
basically HBO Max. Have you seen it? Oh, dude, can we talk about UI UX?
Yeah.
HBO Max's color.
What is that?
It's all purple. Here, watch.
Yeah.
It looks like
we
like
should do that. We should have a section on the podcast that is about.
Remember Grimace, the
Just
big
go
purple.
through each.
the-
Just go apps.
Just
one
go
at a
apps
time.
and then you start
So-
like we can start ripping into them.
So do you remember Grimace, that big like
Yes.
that big purple thing from
Yeah.
McDonald's? So check this out. This is the app icon already, just so much purple. You click on that.
Purple.
Give it a sec. All purple. They might have updated it because I don't really go through. But this, I'm not a fan of this. You see, like the
Nah.
weird, like it goes to
No.
like gradient,
No.
and just like it's all like it's like purple just threw up
That's
on
just
this,
bad.
and like down here is like not. It's
what
cool.
did
And I
purple
like.
did to you, man?
I don't
this
know. I like purple
someone-
too. So are you a fan of this?
Well, let me see. You know, I think it's not distracting. That's the one thing. So when you're looking at a when you're looking at an interface, you want to make sure that things are legible and have enough hierarchy. The hierarchy meaning that you go like, what's the first thing that I'm meant to be looking at?
What's
What
the
do you
most
want me to?
important
What's the most important thing?
Mhm.
And basically, what they've done here is very common material design patterns. And you can see that by having the hamburger menu and having that organization to kind of like to be like that, and you can really tell that they didn't went too crazy with how they're displaying their content.
Yeah.
They have to have like a main image and a little
Little blurb.
here. But this is where things start getting complicated. When you're asking the user to do different actions, here you have to add tiers to my list. And you can say, how do you know that I already added list to my, how do I already know, how do I access them? If I wanted to do something. That's when you're doing like user testing, you ask user to be like, okay, I want you to find your 5 top 10 episodes.
You're like, oh, I don't know how to do that.
On Justice Elmo show?
Yeah, no, just your 5 the
Oh, okay. Hold on.
episode that you've already seen. I want you to show me the top 5.
I just want to ask you one final question. You're a self-proclaimed child at heart.
Self-proclaimed.
Self-proclaimed.
But
What if
Not confirmed.
yeah.
what is one thing that you want to leave with all the kids trying to grow and all the people looking up to bigger things? What is one thing that you want to say?
Oh shit.
And you got 50 seconds, by the way.
I don't know. Don't grow up. It's a trap.
I like that. Honestly.
That's actually very deep. That's actually very deep.
It's as shallow and as deep as you want it to be. It's a little bit of everything.
I think they posted the whole podcast together in one statement.
Awesome. Well, hey, that's it for today. Thank you again, Andre. This was an awesome episode. We had a great time.
I
and
had a great
fun.
time.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it was
fun.
This is good.
thank you for tuning into The Brew. We'll see you next time.
All right.
Bye bye.
The brew.